The cop's hand was resting on the butt of his gun. It wasn't a threat, not yet, but it was a presence. Heavy, sobering reality check in the middle of my sunny suburban driveway. He was looking from my face to the car in my garage, then back again, his expression a tight, professional mask. But the real problem was the screaming. It was a constant, piercing shriek, the kind that scrapes at your nerves. That's it. It's my car. I ordered that exact car. He stole it. Arrest him! Arrest him! Brenda, the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood, was standing on the edge of my lawn, her face contorted in a mask of pure theatrical rage. She was pointing a trembling finger at my garage, at my car, her entire body shaking with what she was trying to pass off as righteous indignation. The crazy part wasn't that she was lying. I was used to her lies. The crazy part was that she seemed to actually believe it. And the officer, despite his professional calm, was starting to look at me just a little differently. He was starting to wonder. He was starting to listen to her. Da-da-da-da. And that's when everything went wrong. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment. What would you do if this happened to you? And subscribe to HOA Files. My story doesn't begin with a screaming match and a 911 call. It begins with peace and quiet. 5 years ago, I bought a modest house in the Maple Creek subdivision. It was the perfect place for quiet streets, nice trees, a real sense of community. I'm a graphic designer. I work from home, so a peaceful environment is everything. For the first few years, it was exactly that. A peaceful, boring, wonderful slice of suburbia. And in my garage, I kept my one true passion. It's my baby. A 1968 Ford Mustang, restored from the ground up. It wasn't just a car to me. It was years of saving, months of knuckle-busting work, countless hours spent sourcing original parts. It was my art project, my therapy, my dream made real. I'd had it painted in a very specific, very rare factory color from that year, Gulfstream Aqua. It was a stunning, eye-catching shade of light metallic, blue. It was the kind of car you don't see every day. I kept it pristine, tucked away in my garage, my own private treasure, of course. No suburban paradise is complete without a serpent, and our serpent's name was Brenda. Brenda was the HOA. President, a position she wielded not like a public servant, but like a petty dictator. She was a woman who fed on control and thrived on drama. Nothing was too small for her notice. Your trash cans were out an hour too early? You get a letter? Your garden gnome wasn't on the approved list? Fine. She had a particular dislike for me, I think because I was single, worked a creative job from home, and generally kept to myself. I didn't fit into her little box of what a good resident should be. Brenda's other defining characteristic was her desperate need to project wealth and status. She talked incessantly about her husband's big promotions, the vacations they were about to take, and the expensive things she was about to buy. It was always about to. Her life was a constant performance of prosperity, and we were all her captive audience. This brings me to a weird conversation we had a few weeks before the screaming started. I was out getting my mail when she cornered me, her eyes gleaming. With some fresh gossip she was dying to share. "Robert," she said, her voice dripping with condescension, "you'll never guess what I finally did. I ordered my new car. I decided I deserved a little treat." "Oh, that's great, Brenda," I said, trying to end the conversation before it began, but she wasn't done. "It's a brand new Porsche. 911 Carrera, the new model. I had it special ordered from the factory in Germany, and I chose the most exquisite color. It's a custom paint, very exclusive, a light, metallic aqua blue. They call it Miami Blue." I froze for a second. Miami Blue. It was Porsche's modern interpretation of the same color family as my Mustang's Gulfstream Aqua. It was a strange, specific detail. "It's costing a fortune, of course," she continued, puffing out her chest. "But you get what you pay for. Quality. Not like some of these old clunkers people keep hidden in their garages." She gave my house a pointed look. I just nodded, a weird feeling creeping up my spine. It was such a bizarre thing to say, so specific. This was Brenda. Her whole life was about one-upmanship. I figured she'd seen my car at some point, and this was her strange, pathetic way of trying to compete with it. I brushed it off and went inside, but the conversation left a bad taste in my mouth. A week later, I got a brightly colored violation notice stuck to my front door. My heart sank. What now? A non-compliant welcome mat. I read the notice. Violation. Storing an unregistered or inoperable vehicle on the premises. It cited a bylaw about junk cars. My Mustang. She was talking about my perfectly registered, perfectly running, pristine classic car. The sheer audacity of it made my blood boil. It was a direct attack. I stormed over to her house, notice in hand. She answered with that same smug look. "Brenda, what is this?" I demanded, holding up the slip. "My car is registered. It's insured. It's in perfect working order." "Is it?" she asked, feigning innocence. "I never see it move. Car that just sits in a garage. It's an eyesore, even if we can't see it. It brings down the tone of the neighborhood. We don't want that element here." "The element?" I was speechless. "Besides," she added, a cruel little smile on her lips, "you should be making room. My new Porsche's arriving any day now. It's a real luxury automobile, not some old project." The argument went nowhere. She was irrational. Her logic was non-existent. It was pure spite. I went home angrier than I had ever been. This wasn't about rules. This was a personal vendetta. For some reason, it was focused on my car. This brings us to that Saturday. It was a perfect, sunny day, the day of the annual Classics and Coffee Car Show downtown. I'd been looking forward to it for months. This was the day my Mustang got to shine. I spent the morning giving it a final polish until it gleamed. As I was getting ready to leave, I happened to glance out the window, and there was Brenda, standing across the street, talking on her phone, and staring at my house with a strange, predatory intensity. A knot of dread tightened in my stomach. What was she doing? Why was she watching me? I tried to ignore it. I wasn't going to let her ruin my day. I took a deep breath, walked to the wall panel, and hit the garage door opener. The door started to groan its way up, slowly revealing the front fender, then the grille, then the whole front of my beautiful Gulfstream Aqua Mustang. The second the car was fully in view, the screaming started. It wasn't just a yell. It was a raw, blood-curdling shriek that ripped through the peaceful Saturday morning quiet. "That's it. That's my car. He stole my car. Someone help. Call 911. He's a thief." I stood there, frozen in my garage, completely bewildered. Neighbors started poking their heads out of their doors. And Brenda just kept screaming, her performance growing. More frantic by the second, within what felt like seconds but was probably minutes. I heard the sirens. 2 police cars came flying around the corner and screeched to a halt in front of my house. And that's how I ended up with a cop in my driveway, trying to talk over the insane screaming of a woman who was accusing me of stealing a car that had been in my possession for 3 years. The scene was pure chaos. Brenda was putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of a traumatized victim. "I ordered it special from Germany," she wailed, tears streaming down her face. "It must have been delivered to the wrong address this morning, and he signed for it and hid it in his garage. It's the exact color, the exact one. He knew I was getting it. He stole my Porsche." "Ma'am, that's a Ford Mustang," the older officer said, his voice tight with forced patience. "He must have swapped the badges. He's a criminal mastermind," she shrieked. "It would have been funny if it weren't so terrifying." She was so convincing in her hysteria that the police had to treat it seriously. They had to consider the possibility, however remote, that she was telling the truth. "Sir," the officer said to me, his tone shifting from neutral to skeptical, "can you explain this? She seems pretty certain." "Certain? She's insane," I said, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "This is my car. I've owned it for years. I restored it myself." "That's what he wants." "You two think," Brenda sobbed. "Make him show you the paperwork. He won't have any." The officer turned back to me. "Sir, I need to see the registration and title for this vehicle." It was a nightmare. Here I was, on the best day of the year, about to head to a car show, and I was being treated like a car thief on my own property? My neighbors were all staring. My dream day had curdled into a public humiliation. Brenda had won. She had successfully turned my moment of pride into a spectacle of shame. But as I looked at her, a strange calm washed over me. The anger was still there, but it was now a cold, clear anger. She had gone too far. This performance was about to have its final act. "Of course, officer," I said, my voice steady. "Give me 1 minute. All the paperwork is in a file in my office." I walked back into my house, leaving them in the driveway with Brenda's continuing hysterics. I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out the thick folder labeled Mustang. Inside was every receipt, every document, every piece of paper associated with that car. The original bill of sale from 3 years ago, the official state title and my name with my address, my current registration, my insurance card. I had a whole history in my hands. I walked back outside and handed the folder to the officer. "Here you go," I said. "Bill of sale, title, registration, insurance, it's all there." He took the folder and began to leaf through it. "Read the bill of sale." He examined the title, holding it up to the light. He looked at the VIN on the title, then walked over to the car and crouched down to read the VIN plate on the dashboard. He stood up, looked at the title again, and then looked at me. The skepticism in his eyes vanished. He walked over to Brenda, who had quieted down to a series of dramatic sobs. "Ma'am," he said, his voice flat and official, "this vehicle is legally registered to this gentleman. He has the title, free and clear. The VINs match, it's his car." Brenda's eyes went wide. The Victim Act dropped for a split second, replaced by pure, uncut fury. He faked it. "Papers are fake. He's a forger. I ordered that car. I have the proof." The officer sighed, his patience clearly gone. "Okay, ma'am. Where is your proof? Do you have a bill of sale? A title? Any paperwork for the Porsche you claim this is?" "It's on order," she sputtered, her story starting to unravel. "The dealership has all the paperwork. They were supposed to deliver it today. Call them. Call Porsche of Northwood. Ill. Tell you." A brilliant, terrible idea seemed to dawn on the officer's face. He looked at his partner, who just gave a slight nod. "Okay," he said, pulling out his phone. "I will." He turned to Brenda. "What's the name of your salesperson?" Steve," she said, looking a little less certain now. The officer got the number for the dealership and called it. Put it on speakerphone so everyone could hear. "Porsche of Northwood, how can I help you?" Cheerful voice answered. "Yes, this is Officer Miller with the County Sheriff's Department." The cop said, "I need to speak with a sales manager, please." There was a pause, and then a man's voice came on the line. "This is David, the sales manager." "How can I help you, officer?" "David, I'm here with a customer of yours, a Ms. Brenda Miller," the officer said, looking directly at Brenda. "She's involved in a dispute over a Miami blue Porsche 911 she says she has on order with you." "Ah, yes, Ms. Miller," the manager said, and the tone of his voice was interesting. It was heavy. "Ms. Miller is claiming the vehicle was scheduled to be delivered today," the officer continued. "Can you confirm that for me?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then the manager said carefully, "Officer, I'm not sure what Ms. Miller has told you, but that vehicle order was canceled by us 2 weeks ago. The air went out of the world." "What?" Brenda froze, her face a mask of horror. The officer pressed on. "Can you tell me why it was canceled?" Another pause. "Well, the initial deposit check was returned for insufficient funds," the manager said. "We gave her 10 days to secure alternate financing, but she was unable to. So, the factory allocation was released, and the order was officially canceled. We sent her multiple letters. Very sorry for any confusion." The officer looked at Brenda. Her face had gone from red to a pasty, sickly gray. Her mouth was hanging open. The entire neighborhood, who had been watching this drama unfold, was dead silent. Her fantasy, her big lie she'd been telling everyone, for weeks, had just been publicly and brutally dismantled. She wasn't a wealthy woman waiting on her Porsche. She was a fraud whose check had bounced. "Thank you, David. You've been very helpful," the officer said and ended the call. Turned to Brenda, his voice now cold as ice.
So, ma'am, not only is this not your car, but the car you claim it is doesn't exist. You filed a false police report. You've knowingly accused this man of a felony. You have wasted city resources and terrorized your neighbor.
Brenda looked like she was going to be sick. She just stood there swaying slightly, speechless for the first time in her life. You are lucky this gentleman is not pressing charges, the officer said, his voice low. I suggest you go back inside your house and reflect on the serious criminal trouble you just narrowly avoided. Do not speak to this man again. Do not set foot on his property again. Is that clear? Brenda just gave a pathetic little nod, turned, and did the walk of shame back to her house, the eyes of the entire neighborhood burning into her back. The officers apologized to me profusely, gave me a card, and told me to call if I had any more trouble. I was left standing in my driveway, next to my beautiful car, the silence of the street ringing in my ears. The anger and humiliation were gone, replaced by a profound sense of vindication. Brenda's power was built on a throne of lies, and we had all just watched it crumble into dust. She had to build herself up by tearing others down, and when her own fantasy fell apart, she tried to steal mine to replace it. The moral of the story, I guess, is that reality always wins. People can build whatever narrative they want, but sooner or later, the truth comes calling. And for people like Brenda, the truth is a bill they can't pay. Brenda and her husband put their house up for sale a month later and moved away. The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. We finally had our peace back. But last week, I saw a moving truck pull up to her old house, and I heard the new HOA president is her sister.